So you've decided you want to spend a nice, relaxing, carefree day here at Volcano Bay. But the problem is there's mistakes that you can make, and if you make those mistakes, it's going to ruin your entire day. But I'm sure it'll be fine. It should be fine.
Volcano Bay is widely regarded as the best water park in all of Florida, and for good reason. It's so much fun, and there's some really cool things to do and see here, but there are some nuances that you need to know before you visit this park, because if you make these mistakes, it could ruin your entire experience. The first mistake that you can make that can ruin your day before it even begins is not getting here early enough. Now we get it, Volcano Bay is probably an addition to your theme park vacation. You probably spent the last couple days walking around the theme parks from open to close. You're exhausted, your feet hurt, you want to come here, you want to relax in the lazy river, probably sleep in before you come to the water park. But the problem with that is that Volcano Bay, especially during peak season, is known to hit capacity more often than you think. So when the park hits capacity, that just means that it's full and they're not going to let anybody else in unless you fall into one of these three categories that are immune from the park hitting capacity. The first one is if you have a single day dated ticket. So for example, today is Sunday, May 12th. If you had a ticket that was just for Volcano Bay on Sunday, May 12th, even if the park hits capacity, you're not going to be refused entrance. The second one is if you have pre-purchased either cabanas or premium seating, which you can do by calling Universal ahead of time. And the third one is if you have a 3-park premier annual pass. So where that gets confusing is if you have like a 3-park, 3-day ticket that includes Volcano Bay. When you purchase that ticket, you're gonna have to pick like a starting day, and then there are specific days that you can use it. So you might think that that qualifies as a dated ticket, but because it's not good for like one day in particular, that doesn't count and you can still be refused entrance. When we talk about the water park hitting capacity, that's most likely to happen during like summer and spring break. But what a lot of people don't realize is that Volcano Bay hits capacity a lot on the weekends, even when you wouldn't expect it to be busy. Just a couple weeks ago, we were coming to film a video and we got here about noon on Saturday, and when we pulled into parking, it said Volcano Bay was at capacity, and we were so upset. But that was when we learned that if you have the Premier Annual Pass, you can still get in, but it's only for the Premier Pass, so if you have anything below that, you won't be allowed in. Not getting to the park early enough is a huge mistake, but even if you do get here first thing in the morning, that's not the only problem you might have.
The next mistake is not getting your essentials when you get here. And by essentials, I just mean your locker and your chairs. You may be thinking, well, a locker doesn't seem that necessary, but I promise you, I'm going to say for 99% of y'all, a locker is extremely necessary. There's stuff that you've got to keep dry, whether it's your keys, your bag, like a diaper bag, your wallet, your phone, a gremlin. Like, there's going to be stuff that you want to put in a locker and keep safe. You're at a water park. Things are going to get wet. And then as far as chairs, there's a lot of chairs at this park. We have been here when the chairs have been like completely full, but there are a ton and you should be able to find them. But the problem is the chairs that are like convenient and the chairs that have the great view, like the view of the volcano, those fill up super fast. If you're not here, I would say in the first hour on a very busy day, you're sitting in the back looking at like a palm tree. Do you like that reference to Gremlins? Where else can you watch theme park content and get Gremlin references?
The biggest question we get about chairs is how do you like claim your chairs for the day? And it's just like any other beach. All you have to do is set something down on them. So most of the time it's going to be like a towel or your shoes or maybe a cover up. Anything that's like of value, we would suggest keeping in the lockers. So like your phone, your wallet, your keys, even sunscreen, because I'm not sure when we decided that sunscreen was $20 a bottle, but here we are. And if you get here late and you're struggling to find chairs, we walked around this entire park today and these are the only chairs that we found so far, and we're back here behind the Oh Yeah and Oh No slides. There's actually a really great view of the volcano, but if you get kind of behind some of the attractions and like the lesser known areas, you can still find some open chairs if you're struggling. If you don't want to deal with trying to find chairs once you get here, you can reserve them ahead of time. So you can either get a cabana or you can get the premium seating, which we actually did in our last Volcano Bay video. So if you want to see what those look like, you can check out that video after this one. But the cabanas, they have a 6-person cabana option and then a 16-person cabana. And to reserve those, all you have to do is like call Universal ahead of time. You can't do it on the website. You do have to physically call them or do it when you get here. But if you wait until you get here, they're going to be more expensive. So I would suggest doing that ahead of time. And the same thing as far as pricing goes for the premium seating. Tyler said pretty much everyone is going to need a locker. I feel like That's everyone. I guess you could show up with like your phone and one of those like waterproof necklaces and then have like your room key and like a zipper pocket in your swim trunks. But personally, I have a panic attack if I leave the house just to get the mail and I don't have like my phone, my wallet, my keys, my watch. So needless to say, every time we come here, we're renting a locker. And first thing in the morning, it's like a mad dash to the locker stations because everybody realizes that's what they need to do. And a little pro tip, it might shock you to know, even if you've been here like 15 times, there are actually 5 locker stations throughout this park. I thought there was 4 before I did research for this video, and then I realized there's actually a 5th one hidden somewhere. But the point is, if you get to one of the first locker stations you see and they're either out of the small lockers or it's super busy, just keep walking because you can find more lockers in the back that'll save you a ton of time. But that's not the only place where you can waste time here at Volcano Bay.
The next mistake is eating at this restaurant right here. That may have seemed targeted, and it definitely wasn't. There's actually nothing wrong with that restaurant. Matter of fact, the food that we got today is from here. And by and large, we think that Volcano Bay has the best food of the 3 theme parks here at Universal. What we meant by that is it's kind of like the lockers and the chairs. It's at the front of the park, and this one is just always so busy. I mean, there are switchbacks that just fill up with people. And then you go to the back of the park and there's restaurants where you can get food in like 10 minutes. And I don't know what people are doing. And while we're on the subject of not knowing what people are doing, can we just agree to all start mobile ordering? There were people that had just gotten in line that were sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. And we mobile ordered and had our food and they had moved up like 2 feet in that line. Like, let's just make mobile ordering a thing because it's so easy.
There actually are 5 restaurants at Volcano Bay, 1 for each of the locker stations. And our best suggestion for one that's most likely to not be busy is probably Bamboo. All of the restaurants in the back, like there's 3 in the back that tend to be less busy than the one right up here. The only downside is that when it's not busy in the parks, sometimes the restaurants in the back, specifically the Feasting Frog, will close. Kind of like the way that Wimpy's isn't always open when it's not busy. That restaurant tends to shut down, which is a bummer because they have some really great options. But if that happens, like we said, the restaurant up front has delicious food. It can just be really slow sometimes.
One last thing about food here at Volcano Bay, and this is a serious one. If you don't get a Waturi fusion while you're at Volcano Bay, you can and will be prosecuted in at least 6 states in the United States. That's not true at all, but you should get one because they're really good.
Another mistake that we see a lot of people making is not getting a return time for Krakatoa as soon as possible. Krakatoa is essentially the Hagrid's of Volcano Bay. And if you're not familiar with Hagrid's, if you haven't been to Universal before, Hagrid's is essentially the Michael Jordan of roller coasters. And if you don't know who Michael Jordan is, he's one of the best baseball players of all time. But the point is that Krakatoa is a really popular attraction that everybody here wants to ride. And so when you get here, you need to come and get your Tapu Tapu return time as soon as possible, because what happens is if you don't get the return time, the number of minutes that the return time is equal to becomes greater than the number of minutes that the park is going to be open for the rest of the day, and they shut the ride down and then you don't get to ride it. Like earlier, the return time was 260 minutes and I scanned my little thing and I was the very last person to scan it before it said ride full. There are a couple reasons that you want to get this return time as soon as possible. And the first one is that the return time itself is probably going to be lower first thing in the morning. And the second one is that earlier in the day, other attractions are more likely to say ride now, which means that you can go and scan your Tapu Tapu and ride that attraction without losing your Krakatoa return time. And if all of this seems really confusing, that's because it is. But don't worry, you're in luck. We have another mistake that you're going to love. The next mistake is not taking full advantage of the Tapu Tapu system, which by the way is super easy to get on. But but I'm gonna give you a little crash course in how the tapu tapu works. Pretty much your entire day at Volcano Bay is going to be governed by this thing. So when you scan into the park, they're gonna give you your own tapu tapu, and it's gonna be linked to your ticket. You can set it up through the app to pay at any of the locations here in Volcano Bay. So whether that's food, merchandise, grab a drink, whatever, you can pay through your tapu tapu system. You can also access your locker through this. So when you purchase your locker, you'll scan this, and this will be how you'll open it back up. You can also hook up multiple tapus to the same locker. So for example, if Tyler and I were sharing a locker, we can set up both of our tapu tapus so that either one of us could go to the locker station and open it up. And then of course, you use it for virtual lines.
So Volcano Bay is actually a virtual line only park. So all the lines that you wait in, like all the queues, you just do it on your tapu tapu. And so earlier when we were talking about getting a return time, so for rides that have a wait time, you have to get a return time. The problem with that is you can't get another return time until you've satisfied that return time. So until you go and ride whatever you're waiting for, you can't go get another queue, like you can't queue up for anything else. However, like we were talking about earlier with the Ride Now system, if something says Ride Now, you can actually scan and it doesn't take away your old queue, so you can be riding the things that say Ride Now while you're waiting for that attraction that has that high wait time. Unfortunately, sometimes you're gonna get over here and the parks are just gonna be busy and nothing's gonna be a Ride Now, so you're gonna have to go ahead and queue up for something and you're just gonna have to wait. But luckily, there is something to do while you wait, which is just the greatest thing in the world.
This next mistake might be the biggest one yet. Not getting in the Fearless River. Come on, let's go.
I love so much that the best attraction at Volcano Bay is just a Fearless River. It's just a lazy river, but a very fast one. And like you don't have to have a tapu tapu, like you don't have to have a return time or anything. Just get a life jacket, jump in it. It is the absolute best.
Forewarning, if you've never been in it before, you're probably gonna spend your entire day there. But if you enjoy Universal and theme parks in general, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can also click right up here to check out that video where we did try out the premium seating here at Volcano Bay just a few weeks ago. But thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.
Bye.